My friends, we may be seeing now the biggest scandal in U.S. history, and I think it's fair to say. You've had the Russiagate hoax. They accused the president, the sitting president, of being a traitor to his nation. That whole thing probably was bigger than Watergate. When you do a quick Google search or when you ask the AI bots, what's the biggest scandal, they tell you Watergate was. I think we've since surpassed that degree of scandal. I want to show you just this headline as we begin. Doctor who worked with Biden says he had cancer while he was president. In fact, this top oncologist who actually worked with the former president said he probably had the cancer before he even got into office. We have the video, of course, from 2022 where Joe Biden says that I and so many others have cancer. But it's not just the cancer. We knew that he was ill. Stories had been circulating. The scandal, my friends, is when you look at the big picture. Criminal actions of Joe Biden. Did they prosecute? No. Why? Because of his mental state. The audio leaks, and we now know exactly what Biden was saying and what he was asked. Now, we had the transcript, of course. So we knew that they had Joe Biden dead to rights. He broke the law. No criminal charges. They likely knew he had cancer. Most of these people probably knew that he had terminal stage 4 or 5, whichever. It's stage 4 if you ask the internet. Then you take a look at how the media covered everything up every time. What I love about what the media does with Joe Biden, and they did this during his presidency, is that when he says something as nonsensical as Trinidad Shabbat pressure. Let me try that again. Trinidad Shabbat pressure. It's an actual quote from Joe Biden. Instead of actually quoting him, they paraphrase. So if Joe Biden appeared on a show and said something like, we got the kids and got to go to school because, anyway. Instead of quoting that incoherent, garbled nonsense, they would simply say, during the interview, Joe Biden expressed frustration with schools being poor and children needing access. Because if you actually tried to quote him, you'd know that the dude was speaking gibberish. Then it'd say, my friends, the media knew they were lying. They covered up for the president. The White House administration, his family, and his doctors lied and covered up for the president. And prosecutors who were supposed to hold him to account lied and covered it up in every major facet of organization of this country. The president was infirm, incapable, and criminal, and it was covered up. Dare I say, I cannot think of a greater scandal in U.S. history than the fact that an entire 4 years of presidency may have been fraudulent. Let me say that again. The doctor who worked with Biden said he had cancer while he was president, and it did not just develop. In fact, he may have had it before entering office. They knew from the beginning. Now the question is, with the her tapes leaking, questions of whether or not Joe Biden was engaged in criminal activities before becoming president and whether he should be charged, and he can be. Questions about whether or not he actually signed these pardons and what did he actually sign. It may be void. Already we're hearing from Ed Martin, who's to be Trump's new pardon attorney, that they're investigating the auto pen pardons because we don't think Joe Biden actually authorized or signed those. Now, there have been several times throughout history, perhaps we could have questioned the mental state of a president. Reagan, for one, we knew that he was losing it towards the end of his presidency. But right now, I can speak for the president. I am calling on the Republicans to launch the Biden Infirmity Committee and they should begin to subpoena, investigate, and issue criminal charges for anyone who helped cover this up. And I'm talking about the forging of documents, a crime, specifically. I'm not referring to the fact that they just try to withhold information. They do that all the time. But anywhere that criminal activity took place, it should be exposed. And then we'll have to go through and void what may not have actually been decisions from Joe Biden pertaining to policy. Of course, Trump can do all of that if it's simple policy. But what if the judges are blocking Trump from removing a Biden executive order? This must be investigated. My friends, we're going to get into all this. Before we do, of course, smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club for shouting us out. Welcome to the Rumble Morning Lineup. Of course, this is your noon hour. I'm your host, Tim Pool. As we bring you into the afternoon, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. So we're going to get into all of that. Let's start right now with the story from the New York Post. Doctor who worked with Biden says he had cancer while he was president. Did not develop it in the last 100 to 200 days. A top oncologist who once worked for former President Joe Biden claimed Monday that his old boss must have had prostate cancer long before Sunday's public announcement of the diagnosis, and suggested the oldest president may have even had the disease for a decade. Dr. Ezekiel Manuel, a former member of Biden's transition team who helped craft the Obama-era Affordable Care Act, stunned MSNBC's left-leaning Morning Joe with his analysis that the 82-year-old likely had cancer while serving as president. He's had this for many years, maybe even a decade, growing there and spreading. Emanuel told the Biden supporting host early Monday. He did not develop it in the last 100 to 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, I don't think there's any disagreement about that. The Sunday announcement from the former president's office came 2 days after he learned of the diagnosis. That is a lie, and no sane person believes it. Now, we've got a lot to bring up here. Exclusive. Prosecutor's audio shows Biden's memory lapses. This past week, I actually joined Jesse Waters on Fox and discussed this very issue. The media, largely Alex Thompson himself, who published this, said, "We missed the story." How did we miss the story on Joe Biden, he asked. Interesting. Missed it. They didn't miss it. They covered it up intentionally. So I want to know what they knew. I want the Republicans to do exactly what the Democrats did with J6 and with Russiagate. They brought in journalists. No, hold on. I don't want Republicans posting the private information and messages of journalists like the Democrats did. That's illegal. But they can issue subpoenas and bring these people in and get them on the record. Don't worry, you'll be granted immunity. We just need to know what you knew and why you did or did not tell the American public. Alex Thompson spoke at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and said, "We missed it." Now, the audio leaks. Biden's memory lapses, they call it. This man, likely the whole time, was incapable of functioning. So again, I'll stress this. We need a review. We need to know who was actually running the show, because Joe Biden wasn't. Auto pen was signing documents. And I'm going to say this. I'm sick of this. I don't care about auto pen garbage anymore. I don't care if Trump did it. I don't care if Biden did it. I don't care if Obama did it. I don't care if Bush did it. It should be illegal. You should not be allowed to have a machine forge your signature on presidential documents. These people are scumbags. They are evil. It is a machine state, and your elections mean oh so little. But how about now we do something about it? Now I'm going to tell you. You got this viral video, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino saying that Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. And a lot of people don't believe it. Well, I can tell you one thing. The machine takes you. That's always been the case. I trust Kash and Dan, so we'll see. But I'll tell you this. There's always going to be some fear over national security and some fear of fallout as to why you can't reveal the truth. It's reminiscent of Watchmen. Great graphic novel, by the way. In the end, after a false flag is perpetrated by the villain to end the Cold War, that's the graphic novel. One of the characters says, "I don't care. The people must know the truth." And that's Rorschach. And so Dr. Manhattan, another character, kills him. It's a comic. I know it's fiction, but it presents an interesting conundrum for us, for you, and for anybody who gets into office. What say you? If you got into office and you said, "I will expose the truth and I will help the American people," and then you found out what Joe Biden was really doing, and he's a bad guy, real bad guy, but you also knew that if you exposed the truth of what was going on with Biden, you could destroy the fabric of this nation. Would you do it? See, most people are going to say no. That's the game. It's always been the game and it will always be the game. Because people, when it comes down to brass tacks, they get into office, they get into the administration, They say, I want to do good. I want to do good. And then they come across this, the infirm. And they say, if you reveal to the world that Joe Biden is dying of terminal cancer, that his brain is jello and he cannot talk. I know people can see it, but if you confirm it, doctor, our enemies will attack. The petrodollar will collapse. 401ks will get wiped out overnight. You will destroy the fabric of this economy. Is that really who you want to be? And they say no. So they lie. They cover it up, and they wait until it doesn't have as big of an impact. And now they'll review the whole time this man was incapable. Take a look at this from Mike Benz. He says the DOJ used Biden's mental state as a shield to not charge him for the exact felony crimes they were actively charging Trump for. And therein lies the problem. This is the line for me. You know, again, Cash and Dan in office, and they're saying, or in the FBI, you know, Epstein took his own life. Perhaps. But I wonder how much of this is them really saying if we were to actually reveal what's in those files, could destroy this country. I honestly don't know. I'd love to ask them. What I can tell you is it's a little bit easier for me. If I got in, if I was involved in government, any capacity, and I will stress the never going to happen. And that's why. That's why we don't see this stuff. You think you can cover up Joe Biden's illness and mental state while prosecuting Donald Trump for the same crime? I'll blow the whistle on all of it. I will come out and say, Joe Biden has terminal cancer. And they'll say, but the 401ks, and I'll be like, that's your fault. The damage that arises from the illegal actions of Democrat uniparty thugs going after Trump's lawyers, it's on them and not on me or anyone else for exposing that they staged effectively a soft coup with a terminal cancer patient who couldn't think straight and then forged his signatures. Again, probably one of the biggest scandals in American history, if not the biggest. Miranda Devine says, seriously, has anyone listened to the whole Her audio? The establishment takeout. This is just about Joe Biden having pudding for brains is lazy and misses the deeper point, which is that the prosecutors had him cold on possessing classified documents he had no right to keep. Biden lies and dissembles and filibusters and goes vague and mumbly at all crucial points with the help of lawyer Bob Bauer, who interrupts every time Joe might incriminate himself and laughs like a hyena when Joe gets feisty. Roll tape.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer moonshot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame,
Here we go.
my son is either been deployed or is dying.
Either has been deployed. Let's go back. What was asked of him?
There were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden.
This is a deeply evil man. I don't care if he's troubled. I don't care if he's sick. He's an evil guy. The Barisma scandal. Come on. 10% for the big guy. Flights on Air Force Two to China for equity investments, private equity, mind you, with his son. This is a man who is deeply corrupt and evil. And it's just fascinating. When he's asked about the illegal activities that he was engaged in for the purpose of personal profit, he goes, but my son was dying around this time. I don't remember when, mind you, too old, and he was sick, and they covered it up. This calls into question everything he's done. Ed Martin says the DOJ will review Biden's last-minute pardons. Indeed. They say, outgoing acting U.S. attorney for D.C., Ed Martin, said Tuesday the DOJ is reviewing several of former president's final hour pardons, vowing that his new office will scrutinize whether clemency was used correctly or politically. Martin, whose nomination to D.C. collapsed last week after key Senate Republicans pulled support, confirmed that Trump had reassigned him to 2 new high-profile roles: director of the Office of the Pardon Attorney and head of the DOJ's recently established weaponization working group. Quote, "I do think that the Biden pardons need some scrutiny," Martin said at a press conference announcing the transition. "We want pardons to matter, to be accepted, and to be something that's used correctly. So I do think we're going to take a hard look. Among the Biden pardons that have drawn sharp criticism from Republicans were the preemptive grants to clemency to former White House COVID-19 advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci, former Wyoming GOP Rep. Liz Cheney, and several members of the House J6 committee. GOP lawmakers and Trump allies have railed against the moves as excessive and self-serving, with some accusing Biden of using the pardon power to insulate political allies from future investigations with a form of immunity. Martin did not specify which pardons were under review, but his remarks suggest the Trump administration could challenge or investigate the legality of some of Biden's final clemency decisions before leaving office in January. While presidential pardons are historically difficult, if not impossible to reverse, Biden's use of preemptive pardons for people not yet charged with crimes has raised new constitutional questions. Martin's tenure in Washington, D.C.'s prosecutor office was brief and contentious, as we understand. Now, we're going to be looking into this. Ed Martin, Trump's DOJ pardon attorney, says he'll review Biden's outgoing pardons. As we should. Nick Sorter with the Post the other day, quote, "The integrity of the American pardon system requires that we examine the Biden pardons and who did what. We will get to the bottom of it. Count on us." Joe Biden did not issue those pardons. I'd bet a lot. Let me put it that way. It was AutoPen. I believe that AutoPen should be illegal, and the Supreme Court needs to issue that ruling saying outright, you can't do this. We cannot tolerate any president of any political faction putting a pen in a robot arm to forge a signature. That's what it is. It's a forged signature. Now, I'm fine with this. We're going to scrutinize the Biden admin, his pardons, his documents, because he was infirm, medically disposed. So we don't know who actually authorized that. So let's get those hearings. Let's subpoena some individuals and bring them in and find out what's going on. As for Trump, Obama, Reagan, anybody else who used the AutoPen, I say from now on, we're gonna say okay to that. We realize they were AutoPenning, but from this point forward, AutoPen should be unconstitutional. It should be illegal, and I think it already is. The idea that a president could have his signature forged by a machine, and they say, but even the founding fathers used an AutoPen device, don't care. The idea that a president would allow his signature on documents from a machine is insane. It opens the door to literally anybody doing anything they want, especially when you have a president who is infirm. Now, I'll say it like this. When you got Donald Trump using the AutoPen, well, okay, that's bad. But at least Donald Trump is of sound mind. No more AutoPen. Joe Biden was not with it. The leaked tapes reveal that. And this cancer diagnosis also reveals it. He's infirm and medically disposed. The question then is, who did sign off on these pardons? Who authorized them? The challenge is going to be, of course, Biden could simply just say, it was me. End of story. Under oath. And then what do? Unless you can find some hard evidence, audio, video, or otherwise, Biden can just say, I told him to do it. Now, what if Biden can't testify to that? What if he is unwell? What if others can testify that, no, that's not possible because at the time, Joe Biden was indisposed? I think we should void them. The Democrats like to say, you can't do that. You can't void these documents. And I say, hogwash. Hogwash. We are humans. We exist in a human society, my friends. It is not math, okay? It is a decision made by the judgment of men. And we can choose to or not to. The argument they want to make every single time, this is what the Democrats do. But the Constitution, and we say, we agree, we like that. Then they break the law, and we say, but the Constitution, they go, we're allowed. It was fine when we did it. So I don't play that game. I think it is entirely constitutional to challenge the pardon power because the Constitution vests the pardon power in the president and nobody else. And so what we're challenging is whether or not that power was abused by somebody else. And I think the answer is probably yes. So we'll see, my friends. This is a tremendous scandal, a tremendous, tremendous scandal. The biggest in U.S. history, I believe. But there's questions about anything else he may have signed, anything else he may have done. I'm going to wrap this first segment up there. We are going to be joined in just a minute by Dr. Stephen Quay, who's going to break down for us this diagnosis and, as a doctor, talk about what it means for this cancer. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Check out the interview. It'll be up at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.